Gonna go outside? Here, watch out. Hello. Hello.
Hi, Kelly.
Hello, hello, hello. Guys, all right, I'll go ahead and start recording. All right, so, well, let's go ahead and start with the wins because not everyone was on the huddle. Does anyone have any wins over the holiday weekend they'd like to share with the group?
I'll share one.
Okay,
Yeah, we got a property under contract, so I'm just sitting here at the home inspection currently. So we're just going through it. So hopefully we get this one closed.
nice,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
So hopefully you're gonna get it closed. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jeff.
that's
I
awesome.
do.
All right, let's hear it.
I got my house under contract.
Yay!
Good.
That's awesome.
Sorry, I'm not
Congratulations.
on the screen, but I literally just hung up the phone and I look like a wreck. So
No, you're okay. Happy. Congratulations. That's awesome.
I got Laguna Canyon resubmitted.
Yay,
I
nice.
don't- I think I did that
Last week.
Friday morning.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have, we'll keep you posted on that. We have a lot of activity on that. I don't know if that's because of the Stardust Festival that's going on, but we have 3 showings scheduled for this week so far, which is a lot for that property, so.
Definitely the Sawdust Festival.
Stardust, not Stardust,
Driving
sorry.
by. That's the only way to get there is drive by that property.
Yeah, so we're getting a lot of activity on it, which we expected because of that
Yeah,
festival.
it's kind of interesting. I'm curious how much of that will actually turn into reality because they kind of get spooked once they start finding out all the restrictions.
Not a lot of people, surprisingly. No, there's been a lot of good conversation on that. Not a lot of people are spooked because a lot of people it can fit for them. It's just financing is the issue. So that's been a hurdle a little bit, has been the finance, at least for the past couple of people that I've spoken to about it. It was fine. But I agree with you, Richard, that rental restriction is definitely a fun one to tackle, but.
are you guys talking about Laguna?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, they're very strict.
yeah, Laguna Beach is interesting. All right.
It has to be a bona fide artist. Yeah, I'd say that's strict. Saying they can't live in your property unless they're a bona fide
And,
artist.
and on top of the
What
artist
can-
work relationship, they've also got the, one of them is rent restricted too.
Yep, low income housing. Welcome to California.
That hardly looks like low income housing.
Well,
Beautiful.
I'll be
Well,
low
there,
income.
there are a lot of brand new places all over California that are gorgeous. And even when Kelly and I lived at Amley, which was $7,000 a month for a 2-bedroom condo, they had low housing. They had to, designate a few units. And these people were in a place where, some of the units were 10,000 a month. So don't let the building fool you when they say low income housing.
So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, but yes, Richard, I'll keep you posted on activity on that. I believe they are gonna be responding for highest and best I think tomorrow, he said. So, yeah, we'll keep you posted on that for sure. We got you, my friend. All right, and one more win. Come
Who's
on.
gonna-
No more?
Somebody found one, and we're gonna sit here and wait.
No, we
And-
did 3, but I figured I'd try.
Oh, we did 3? Okay. We gotta have 3.
Did you get 3?
Yeah, I got 3, but if you have one more,
Sure. I have 2 that should be going under contract and getting ready to list one. So
Nice.
that's a nice week.
Busy lady over there in South Florida.
Yes, very busy.
And you relocated from where to South Florida?
Maryland.
Maryland, and you're still kicking
Nice.
butt.
I'm trying.
Love it. Awesome. Good
well,
for
you've
you.
been busy, girl. That's awesome.
So
Thank
is that
you.
near Miami, Southwest Florida?
No, I'm on the other coast. I'm on the Gulf Coast, the Gulf side.
Oh, west side, okay.
Yes. Hmm.
All right. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started. Chloe, just keep an eye on Teams for me. Lisa said someone's having trouble with Supra. 2 people said access denied, but they don't know how to use Supra, so we've been walking them through it, but just in case, just keep an eye on that.
That's comical, Kelly. You mean somebody has a key, but they don't know how to use it?
Very common.
The thing is we put a CBS code on it
Oh,
all
that's why.
before showing, and most realtors can't figure that out.
Even though we have
Yeah.
directions and instructions and walk them through it, they just don't get it. All right, it's always a fun adventure. All right, so can everyone see my zip forms?
Yeah, before you get on that, just out of curiosity, if you don't mind, tell me your rationale for when you would and when you wouldn't use a CBS code.
We use it on every single one of our properties. It controls access into the home. You don't want anyone to go all willy-nilly, and even if the home is vacant, because you can't control the access. So it controls access in the home. Also protects the seller. Even if it is vacant, it protects the seller because you're monitoring when someone going in and out of the home. And when it is occupied, that way no one just walks up and doesn't walk in. And CBS means call before showing. With Supra, I know not everyone has Supra, but there's a special code you can put as an extra layer of protection for your seller.
And also, Kelly will probably mention this when she goes over the listing contract. But if you don't have the names of your buyers that have seen that property, and that property cancels or expires, and that buyer buys that property within the parameters of your listing agreement with that seller, guess who's not getting the commission? If you don't know the buyer's name.
I
right? So
never
you need to
thought
get
of
the
that, but
buyer.
that's a good way to get the buyer's name then too, isn't it?
That's right. And if they don't, just like at my open houses, if they don't want to give me the buyer's name or the buyer doesn't want to give me their name, then I thank them for coming and I send them back the way they came in.
So do you just keep it in the log from Supra or do you do another log for each listing?
We do a log for every listing.
So what does that include? Their name, a phone number and whatever else you get or notes or?
Just the showing information.
Just the
Nothing-
name.
Just the name.
It's not too intrusive, no social security or anything like that.
Social security number.
Right.
Well, I wondered if you got like what you got besides the name.
It's hard enough to get the name from the agent because I don't know why, but the agent must think that we're going to go and Google them and try and find their buyer and put them in escrow. But I guess little do they know when they write a RPA, that RPA is going to have a name on it. So we're eventually going to get the person's name. But yeah, there are a lot of realtors out there that are just really scared that someone's going to steal their client, which I know that happens, but
Funny. I go, well, what happens when you write the offer for my client? Well, they don't want to give you their name yet. So when you write your offer, I mean, I'm not gonna steal your client. It's just funny. Anyways, all right, let's continue.
I'll tell them I'll sign an NDA if you need me to.
I don't say that ever. I just say it's part of the listing agreement. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go, so I apologize for people that are not in the state of California, but I'm sure some of this is very similar, or maybe not, but I promised that I would go over these two documents. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a broker, I'm not a car license training person, so any specific questions, you're gonna have to, obviously ask the broker, but, because I'm not, again, not a contracts person, but I promised you all that I would cover this, and I'm just gonna highlight some things. Hold on one second. Chloe, just tell Lisa that he needs to call Supra. And maybe if you can Google the Supra, Supra Kim customer service number and just give that to Lisa. Lisa, please. Okay, so I'm gonna first go over the listing agreement and, who can guess, well, who can tell me, let me make this interactive. Who can tell me why this page is the first page of the listing agreement?
You're not supposed to work with anybody without having a representation agreement.
Jeff, did you hear that?
I sure did.
So what's really important about this is it's important, especially with the changes that are happening, it's important to have people understand what the agency relationship is, right? So all of us have been through real estate school, right? And in real estate school, you go through contracts, and in contracts, you go over what's the seller agent responsibility, what's the buyer's agent responsibility. Well, it's important for your sellers and buyers to know as well. So this just goes over the agency relationship. Now, keep in mind, this is something you obviously don't need to read through to them, but it's something that you should summarize. So know your contracts, right? It goes over seller agent, buyer agent, agent representing both sides, sellers and buyers' responsibilities. So there's that. Next, it's fair housing and discrimination advisory. I'm not going to go over that. I think we should all know what that is. Possible representation of one or more than one buyer or seller disclosure and content, some multiple buyers, multiple sellers, dual agency. Again, it just goes over that in detail. Wire fraud, electronic funds. This contract for some of you from not in California is probably gonna think this contract's really freaking long. Wait until you see the purchase contract. It's crazy. Okay, so.
You know, Kelly, as a side, you went past like the fair housing one. And
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through those in detail.
no, I was just gonna say though, I actually had a listing client ask me a question that had I answered, I would have violated that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's important. That's why like I'm going over this pretty, like brief because we have an hour, but it's important for you guys to read this. Chloe, it's really important for you to read this, right? You're learning contracts, but it's important for you to understand what not to say, what to say. Yeah, so thank you, Richard. Broker compensation advisory. Okay, let's get in the meat of the thing. So residential listing agreement goes over, your property information, ask some additional questions, if it's been sold as probate, if it's a manufactured home. Listing, shall be any additional listing terms.
Can I ask a quick question again before you go a little further down that page?
Mm-hmm.
Which is more appropriate, eXp Realty or eXp Realty of California?
You can do either.
So they're not gonna get upset with us and kick it back if we don't have eXp Realty of California?
Been doing it for 6 years, sir.
Well, wait, doesn't it depend on which one you're a part of? Because they broke California up in so many different pieces.
Oh, well, yeah, there's eXp Realty of Greater Los Angeles. I don't know how they would do it, but eXp Realty, the main eXp Realty who we belong to, they have a DBA, so you can do eXp Realty.
Okay,
Yeah,
You also
I
have it
just
on the
wanted to
footnotes too.
check.
I would refer to to
Mhm.
whichever one you're a part of, because it's almost like 5 different EXPs. So, and it needs to be the right one.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying, well, hold on, Cecilia was trying to help though.
Oh, I was saying, they also have your designated brokerage on the footnotes as well. So if you go down this page, you should,
Yeah, it's on the bottom, the footer.
Mhm.
So see right here.
Okay,
Because some have a different license number too, I think, don't they?
Right, there's four, was it four? 4 or 5
Each
different
of the
licenses.
breakdowns has a different license number now, right?
Right. Depends on what broker you belong to. All right, can I continue?
Sorry,
It's okay, you're good. Ask questions though, so yeah, no, I just, let me,
I asked because you were right there. I didn't want to.
yeah, no, it's okay, it's okay. I just want to be able to get through both of these, so, but yes, eXp Realty, just go off what your broker, license says. eXp Realty of California is how it was years. It still is there, it's just they have a DBA to call it eXp Realty. So you can do either or, whatever you prefer. Okay. Compensation to. Now, keep in mind, this is gonna, some of this stuff might change down the line, but right now this is how it is. So compensation to broker, the seller can either offer a percentage. So let's say 5%, right? Or the seller can offer a flat amount, so you could do 10,000. Right, so you could do either or, it's one or the other, it's not both. Okay, if you have any additional fees, so for the state of California, you can add an additional fee, but you just put the fee amount. You don't put what it's for, that's against the car guidelines, but you can put a fee in there. So if you have an additional fee, you would put that there. All right, now
What additional fees do you consider adding?
if you have an additional fee, like Jeff has an admin fee. So that admin fee would go there, but you just don't put you don't put the fee, you don't put admin next to it. But if you have like a lot of fees, like I saw on an offer the other day, this broker was charging the buyer $1,500. And they were getting buyer agent commission. So that was crazy. Anyways, so whatever fee, but this is on the seller side. So whatever the listing agent is charging.
And by the way, that admin fee that I put on there is anything you put on there is subject to your 80-20 split if you're not capped. I put enough on there to pay my TC when I'm not capped. So basically the seller's paying for the TC through that ad.
Okay.
All right. And then this right here is what Jeff was talking about. Where's my,
So A2
hold on.
is within a certain amount of calendar days from the end of the listing period or any extension or after cancellation of the agreement. So basically when your listing's done, if you put an amount there, which I put 180 days, 6 months, that means if within 180 days, somebody that I have procured with my original listing, meaning I've either personally showed them the home or I've given, another agent, Jane Doan, permission to show the agent. That's why I asked for the buyer's name, because if that buyer buys that home in 180 days, guess who's getting paid? Me. But if I didn't ask for those buyers' name, I had no idea, guess who's not getting paid? So that's why that's important. And that's why that's there. It's to protect you, because you do all that work listing it. Let's say it's a hard listing and it takes 4 months to sell, but your listing was only good for 3. Some other agent comes up on the 4th month and one of those buyers that you had procured, that you know who they are, they've come through the house, buys it. That's not fair that you don't get paid on that, because you're the one that actually procured that buyer. They just happen to come back later.
So is that your typical time period, 180 days?
I always do 6 months. Yep.
Okay.
Just like my listing agreements are always 6 months. So I just do it the same. So it's basically basically almost makes that listing agreement a whole year, except it's 6 months in MLS and then it's 6 months after it's done.
So now other states, for you guys are listening, do you guys have something like that in your contracts? Anyone? Okay.
We do, and it's similar to what you have.
Is it? Okay, cool. I was just curious. And then it goes over here, the buyers, so the cooperation. So whatever percentage or dollar amount they want to offer, that would go here. That's for the buyer side. And then there's just some other things that go on. I'm not gonna highlight all this stuff in here. I'm just wanna highlight a couple things in the listing agreement, just in lieu of time, because the purchase contract is quite longer.
Can I ask you a
I-
quick question?
Sure.
If we could go back to where you were. If someone has, let's say, because of the expires, well, not necessarily expired. The section F, seller represents, the seller has not previously entered into listing agreement. Does that also go with the expired? So if they had, like Jeff mentioned, 6 months, is that separate from, I guess I'm trying to figure out if that section needs to be,
Are you asking, should that be filled out if the house expired?
mm-hmm,
That's a good question, Celia.
Not if the property's canceled or the listing agreement's done. But it also depends on what, you need to review the listing agreement too.
yeah, so if it's withdrawn, then it's still valid, right?
Right, oh yeah, absolutely. That's why before like Jeff takes any type of expired listing. Even an appointment you need to be careful on, right? If they have an
Mhm.
relationship, so you need to look at the listing agreement. And a lot of
Yeah,
times I'll have
You
this
actually look
too.
at the old listing agreement.
Absolutely. Jeff, are you on here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, yeah, correct, Jeff? Am I correct in saying that?
Which
You-
part?
You request the listing agreement, correct?
Yeah, I do, but I found out you don't need to. As long as you have the cancellation, you don't need the listing agreement.
Okay,
You're talking about cancellation in the MLS.
No, cancellation car form.
Right. Yeah, I've
So
gotten
you're talking
clients
about the
who
car
don't get the
cancellation.
cancellation and
Hold
they
on, hold
don't
on,
have
guys.
a copy of the listing agreement.
say that one, you guys are talking over each other, what was
Oh,
that?
I'm sorry.
It's okay, what'd you say, Cecilia?
Oh, no, I've gotten clients who don't have a copy of their listing agreement, nor do they have a copy of the cancellation. So
Yeah,
I just have them go back and ask for it.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But there's all different types of listings too. I mean, you have an open listing, you have net listings, you have, non-exclusive listings. There's all different type of listing agreements, so it's not a bad idea to look at the previous listing agreement. Especially if the seller's unsure, right?
Mhm.
Oh, items included, this is obviously important. Leased or not leased, owned items, liened items. Speaking of that, we still don't have photos for Lake Forest.
Could I
Yeah.
ask you one more question, since you just brought that up and Jeff talked about it earlier? If you're taking a listing that's an expired, do you ask them for like a list of the prior people that saw the home, like you were talking about your 180-day time period?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Jeff's done it before. Depends on
Okay.
what the listing agreement terms are.
Yeah. I asked for the listing agreement so I can look at it because I want to know what I'm getting myself into, right? Am I going to potentially do all this work and have a buyer that was procured by the former agent come in and buy it? If so, I don't care if they didn't fill that out. A lot of agents don't know what that is and don't fill it out. I've seen it blank more times than filled in. Sometimes it's 1 month, 30 days, 21 days. It all just varies. But yeah, I would definitely get a copy of that listing agreement. And then, what are the names of the individuals? Like when we do a cancellation, we put in the cancellation the name of the individuals just to reiterate that, hey, here's all the names. If one of those people buy the home, we're owed compensation.
Okay, so you put
Yeah.
that in the cancellation, and what if it's an expired?
If it's expired, you don't know, but you can get a copy of the listing agreement.
Okay, but no, like, suppose it was your listing that expired, would you pass all that information on to the seller of?
I might do that because we get, like we had 109 people at our last open house, right? That's gonna make it harder for them to find an agent that's willing to take that listing on for that second term because they know how many people saw it, right? But there's a good chance that one of those people actually might buy it.
Oh, I never thought of it from that perspective. That's a good way to keep them to stay with you too then.
All right.
Cool, thank you, sorry.
Mhm.
Don't be sorry. Um. All right, so items included, blah, blah, all this stuff in here. MLS. Now, you want to list who your MLS is with. There is in here where it says, where is it at? Yeah, right here. So if you don't want it submitted on the MLS, you can clear it.
So that would be like a pocket listing,
Right,
right, for EXP exclusives.
right. Coming soon status. That's also on there. Seller does not. So if they don't want the broker to authorize the coming soon status, that box would have to be checked. Seller instructs broker. What is this one? Oh, start marketing. So when the marketing can start. Seller instructs broker not to market to the public, right? Another, so there's a lot of different things in here. That's why it's important to read through these. There's another thing.
So if you don't put it on the MLS, you need to have the SELM.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And that's right here.
Yeah.
And that will trigger that form. Oh, right here. So seller instructs brokers not to present offers. So this is important. If you're a listing agent, you have the fiduciary duty to submit offers to your seller until escrow closes. Unless you've been instructed via email or the listing agreement. Okay, like we had a client, a seller that said, don't present any offers that are below a certain dollar amount. They didn't want to see them. Don't waste my time. That was one of our REOs.
Get it in writing.
Yeah, so we just need it in writing. So if it's in writing, text, that's important. Text is not considered writing. Certified letter or email. Those are the only two forms of writing that are ever in a court of law. Text messages is scary, so don't do it.
Could you put it in a contractual addendum too?
That's in writing.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah, anything in writing, just not a text message. But if they want to send you a letter, it needs to be
In
email
writing?
or certified letter, or like you said, a car addendum. So that's that. And then right here, a lot of people think that they can't do buyer letters. The default is the buyer letters are not allowed. That's the default. You can, if the seller wants to, you can collect this box and you can collect buyer letters.
Well, you can pass them on to the seller.
Right, but by default, its seller is not to present buyer letters.
So no love letters. I have my picture of my family and here's why I want to move to your neighborhood. It's, you know, this and that. Your house is so gorgeous. That by default, you're not allowed to send that unless your seller checks that box.
Any questions on that? No questions, okay. Investigations.
There?
Oh,
Did you
sorry,
guys know that was there? Anyone? Did anyone know it was there?
Yeah, I knew it was there.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Mhm.
I didn't. Kelly told me. Being
I
honest.
didn't know it was there. No.
I did read there something that I didn't know. I didn't know the elective scenario that was in there until just now.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about.
No, I
Yeah.
was talking about the verbiage within the thing. I knew the thing was there, but I didn't know some of the verbiage that was there.
Got it. Okay.
hold on a second.
This is important right here. Investigation and reports. Seller agrees that within 5 days that they'll get all the reports, all the disclosures to your buyer. Let's say the buyer has a 10-day inspection contingency. And let's say you get everything in, all the disclosures out except for the HOA documents. What happens if you when you go to day 7 instead of you're 2 days late? What happens?
No, they're gonna give you a notice to perform.
Well,
No,
what are you giving the buyer when you're a day late? What are you giving the buyer?
Extra time
Extra
Yes.
time.
that's how many days?
to investigate the property.
How many days though?
Guess how many days?
And then like, oh, I don't remember. Shoot.
5,
7 days?
5.
Oh, 5, okay.
They get 5 additional days. So that's why it's really important when you get a listing agreement, if you don't have a TC, which you all should have a TC, but if you don't have a TC, get those disclosures ASAP. Cause you want them ready to go once you open escrow.
So this is saying that the seller could be requested to be responsible for a property inspection.
No,
Mm-mm.
Well, that's what it says right there.
right, if he wants to, he can do one and submit it, but yeah, like a lot of sellers have termite inspections. They just include that and then submit it in there.
But then it says right after that, a general property inspection.
Right, no, I'm saying this is something the seller can say, Jeff, I wanna do this and this before.
Yeah.
Before we list.
Notice how they're not checked off, Richard.
They're not checked. This is an option for the seller to do. It's an option.
If I was a seller that had an inspection report prior to listing it, that's when that would be checked and that's when you would have to provide it.
Do
Or
you
if I had a
think-
termite report, any of those reports that I had that I would have to provide if I already had them, but I'm not gonna check them because I'm not gonna provide them.
Oh, okay. So in other words, this is specifically saying if they're gonna provide them, have them paid for and
Yes.
available within 5 days.
Right.
I was thinking of it from the standpoint of the buyer.
Yep.
Yeah, remember this is a listing agreement.
The listing agreement. We're going over a listing agreement.
We haven't even found the buyer yet.
Photography, I think this is it for the listing agreement that I wanted to cover. Photography. Obviously, if they agree, if they don't agree, I've never seen someone not agree, but there could be someone. So, and then, seller acknowledges that prospective buyers coming into the property may take photographs, videos, or other images. They can also check that where they don't. Seller instructs a broker to publish in the MLS that taking images is limited to those persons preparing appraisal or inspection. So never seen that, but I'm sure on high-end properties, that could be very well a common thing.
Right.
You know, 10 million, 5 million, $10 million property where there's a lot of personal stuff. I had a property where they couldn't photograph anything in the closet because there was a lot of expensive items in it. So, I have seen that before. Last but not least, key safe lockbox. Again, everything defaults to, you know, seller does authorize, but if for some reason they don't, then they'd have to hit does not authorize. Same goes for the sign, any additional terms. I find contracts very boring. Any questions? Any questions on that? Okay. Last but not least is the purchase contract. And the reason why I'm doing this is Jeff,
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Is the part where it says you're supposed to, as a listing agent, disclose other offer amounts in that listing agreement still?
sorry, let me go back
Trying to
there.
watch for it as you went through. I didn't see it.
Hold on. Oops, wrong one. I forgot you wanted to go over that. Um,
What is that? Is that the RPA?
No.
Oh,
It's
it's not-
Yeah, it looks like the RPA.
Am I in the RPA right now?
Uh-huh.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. Hold on. Sorry.
I'm like, I've never seen any of this.
It changed, it
I'm sorry.
changed.
It's that new zip forms, man. I
Yeah.
just do not like the zip forms at all. I'm pretty good at change, and this one I'm not good at change with. It's so clunky to me. Let's see, where is it at? Um,
Up higher.
no, it's okay,
Right there, it's on 2B. It's right there.
right here.
Yeah.
Presentation of offers, is that what you're talking about, Jeff?
Oh, I was talking about like when you're reviewing offers, the fact that in the contract, or it used to be there that you are supposed to disclose to other buyers what the price, what the offer is. Remember that? It's up. It's not gonna be down for sure. I'll, in lieu of time, I'll look for it and I'll bring it to the next meeting, but it used to be in there. I'm not sure if it's there. Remember, I used to call agents out. And they said, I'm not gonna tell you. So well, it's in your listing agreement unless you're
Disclose
selling.
to any real estate licensee making an inquiry, the receipt of any offers on the property and the offering price of such offers.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. All right. Okay, so purchase contract, same exact thing. Gonna go over agency relationship, just like the listing agreement does, fair housing. Possible representation. Wire fraud, so same exact initial forms of the listing agreement, and then you have the buyer homeowners insurance advisory, goes over that. Our purchase contract is long and it's gonna get, I feel like it's just gonna keep getting longer. Okay, so. If you're same brokerage, it's gonna be both, it's dual, so make sure that you're always doing that if it's the same brokerage. And fill this out. We have so many agents that don't fill this out. I don't understand. Don't be lazy. Fill out the buyer, fill out the seller's information, fill this out. Make it a complete offer. We have people submit their brokerage firm, but then leave this out, leave it blank. Just lazy. Don't do
Now,
that.
if you get an offer, right? And it's
What?
not completed by the other agent, you just throw it back or counter it? Is that-
I throw it back to them and ask them to submit a complete offer. I've had it where, yeah, it's yeah.
Mhm.
Throw it back and ask them to.
I've had offers where I've got 10 offers and, you know, I've got one offer that's my agent that's complete and one offer that's a little bit more, that's another offer that's not complete. Guess whose offer is accepted?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
agent's, because it's complete. Because the other one's not a complete offer. It's like somebody's sitting, you know, how many pages is the RPA now? 16 pages?
Mhm.
Like I'm saying 8 pages of the RPA, it's not complete. So until it's complete, I'm not submitting it to my seller.
So are you saying you want to have the buyer's brokerage and agent information too?
Keep in
Just
mind,
form.
keep in mind, I'm logged in as Jeff right now.
Uh-huh.
So normally it would show if I'm a buyer's agent, I would have my information here, right?
Right,
You need to fill out the seller's information as well, the listing information, fill out the seller's name, don't submit blank offers. It's like the wholesalers do, drives us nuts. Submit a complete offer. Okay, I'm not gonna spend any more time on that. All right, okay, so purchase price. Okay, we're gonna purchase price, close the escrow, if you have a specific date you wanna close on, or a number of days. Expiration of counter of offer, it does expire at 3 o'clock, at 5 p.m., at 3 o'clock. 3 days after the buyer's signature at 5 p.m., but you can adjust that if you wanted to. Increased deposit, which is your earnest money deposit. Traditionally, it's 3% of the purchase price. You can do less. Most of the time you get countered, not all the time. Increased deposit, you don't see that often, but I did write an offer recently where after the earnest money deposit was in, and more money would be submitted into escrow. It's just, it kind of makes your offer more enticing, like shows how serious you are. Loan amounts, oh my gosh. All right, Ring Central's going crazy. Loan amounts, it's always defaulted to conventional, but if you have, if you're doing seller financing, VA or FHA, you have to select that box right here. Occupancy type, that's also important, especially if it's a foreclosure. Investors have to wait 30 days for the first look period. First look period is for owner occupants only. That's for foreclosure properties. So this is important to check the right box and make sure your buyer's being honest, because they could end up in some trouble. So regular retail sales are a little bit different, but foreclosures are, and HUD too.
Yeah, when you're buying from a government entity and you're buying in the first look and you're an investor, but you say it's your primary residence, they can come after you.
Yeah. So that's super important. Any questions on that? I know I went through that fast.
For the additional finance amount, you know, do you, I don't know what's the rule of thumb for you guys, but do you complete that whole section?
I leave it blank normally,
You do?
but I haven't needed an additional finance amount, like if it's a second loan. Like, cause so this is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that one, the loan amount. You know how it has the fixed rate,
Oh.
initial adjustment, all that?
I personally don't, but
Okay.
that's just my opinion because rates change every day, every second. But this is important since you said it, the additional finance amount, that's when you, like, you're assuming a loan
Mm-hmm.
or seller financing. So that's when this additional financing would be.
Or a second trustee, if you're doing an 80,
Right.
10, 10, you know, 80% the first, 10% of the second, 10% down. That 10% would go there in the additional finance amount.
But I've never filled out this.
So
piece.
if you were assuming that would be considered other financing,
Right,
But it would be, yeah, but it would be your first trustee, so it'd be, yeah, that one.
this one right here, and then your second would be your conventional. Your first is your assumable. Seller credit to, if any, to the buyer. So if you're asking for some money from the seller, we put that in here. Seller credit to be applied to closing costs, or I've only done towards closing costs. I don't know what the or would be towards. I don't know. I've never used that feature because I don't really know where the credit, they can't legally give you money. So, and if a lender sees that, I don't know, I'd be careful. I'd be careful with the additional terms, just keep it to seller credit to closing costs, because if a lender catches a hold of that and you're trying to do something wonky, that could kill a deal. So just, yeah, seller credit goes towards your closing costs, but that's just my opinion. Seller agrees to pay the obligation of the buyer to compensate buyer brokers under a separate agreement. I feel we're gonna see more of this as we go along, when August hits. Okay, so here's the meat and potatoes, and this is where I wanted to cover it, because I showed Jeff something that he didn't know. So verification of all cash attached to the offer. So this has always been standard, you know, verification of down payment, verification of loan. If you don't happen to have it, you can list when they're going to get it. You would just check this box 3 or 1 day or whatever it is. All right, so you have that. Verification of loan application is attached. Is it pre-qualified, pre-approval, or fully underwritten? So you want to check that appropriate box. Final verification of property, and this is important. It's 5 days prior to the close of escrow. So that means for the listing agents on this call, any repairs have to be done before that 5th day. So, because that's when the buyer needs to do their, per contract, unless you're saying 2 days before close of escrow, right? But that's pretty risky. But yeah, so that's important. 5 days verification of condition needs to be 5 days prior to the close of escrow. Assignment request, if you do like, we have a escrow right now in Agora Hills and it said, they weren't wholesaling it. They were trying to figure out what LLC to put it under. So it was under his person, so under Jeff Russell, but it said or assignee. And then when we got into escrow, he assigned it to his LLC. So that also is in there. Contingencies, I think we all know loan appraisal, all of that. Now, here we go. Investigation of property. Now, when the RPA changed years ago, this all changed. So investigation of property, you have your standard is defaulted to 17. Now, if you change this to 17 or to 10 days, and then you lock the informational access to property to 17 days, that means you have 17 days. The buyer has 17 days for informational only. So during that 17-day period, they can say, Richard, I would like to see this property on this day at this time, no questions asked. So it's very important to cover this with your sellers. I always have with Jeff's, make sure it matches. So I don't know where that thumbs up came from, but so if we're doing a 7-day, if we're countering everyone at 7-day inspection period, then it's going to say 7 days informational access to the property. So we're going to make that match. Does that make sense? Any questions? How
So
many
you're
people knew
basically
that was on
trying
there?
to- You're basically trying to cut down carte blanche access after the fact.
Yep.
Yeah, except for your final walkthrough, right? Because you imagine 17 days and you only had like a 7-day inspection period, and set for 17 days, you can hear, well, I'd like to bring the contractor in, like to get the painter in, I'd like to get some measurements. 17 days, they can do that, right? So that's my rule of thumb, is just match it.
Yeah, match it or make it less than, right? Because when you have your inspection contingency, even if your informational access was 0, you still have your inspection period to do your inspections.
Right. Insurance. So when they need to get insurance, review of seller documents. So I usually make this match just 10, but you can do these all different, because on your contingency removal, there's now individual removals. It's not just one blanket inspection contingency removal. So that's where all those are in here. So you put whatever date or whatever time period you want to review. You have time of possession. It's always defaulted on at the time of recording. So that's also important for the listing agents. So that seller needs to be out before the day before it records, because it could record at 9 a.m. So contractually, that buyer has access at 9 a.m. All right. So always make sure you have that tidied up. Or you can do or 6 p.m. on whatever the date is. Seller occupied or vacant units. That would be in here. So if like you want to do, so seller in possession is 29 days or less. If it's over 29 days, so 30 or more, it's a lease. So it's a residential lease agreement. Any questions on that? No, okay. And then last but not least, the seller delivery of documents. You know, if you want the disclosures fast, you know, I usually, if I'm doing a 10-day inspection period, then I'm going to do a 5-day delivery of documents. So I want those disclosures within 5 days. And the only thing else I change in here is the installation of the smoke detectors. I do that 2 days, because usually my appraisal contingency is really tight. So I want to make sure that it's all ready to go before the appraisal. And there's no delays. The only other thing is time to pay for HOA documents. It's standard at 3 days, but that's really important for the sellers to understand as well, because if this says 1 day, that means that once we open escrow, they need to get the documents ordered and pay those fees. So you can adjust that on the buyer side.
For,
And then
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, quick question for the occupancy. Now I've heard that you want to make sure that everybody or anyone that's 18 and older are told that they're vacating for that, close of escrow. Because people are, from what I hear, people are tending to stay behind and not completely vacate. So that becomes an issue after the fact.
I've only seen that with tenants. But I haven't seen that with owner occupied.
Yeah,
I guess you
have
can tell them all you want, but like, I've had so
Yeah,
many.
because I had one situation. I thought, oh my gosh, the brother was not wanting to move just yet, and so I had to let them know that no, you need to vacate by this date, and I had the seller just put in writing that he's notified his brother that the house is selling, even though he wasn't paying. It wasn't a tenant. He was just there, visiting. And so anyways, there was a little, setback with that. So, I just, and I've heard it in other situations as well. So I don't know if it's something that we just need to do now, that anyone over the age of 18 are told that they need to vacate.
It's not your responsibility now.
Mm.
The only time
But
it's
with
your,
the seller.
I
So
mean, I guess it depends on the situation. Jeff?
Yeah, I've never done anything other than communicate the close of escrow date and let them know that they've got to be out by, 6 p.m. that day or whatever I've selected here, or whatever we've agreed to contractually.
Yeah, mine was the siblings or the brothers had a little, fight and so anyways, they weren't gonna move and, that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
situation.
If you do enough transactions, that's going to happen to you at least, 1 out of every 50 or more
Mhm.
probably. That
But yeah,
happens.
you're not obligated to do that. No, your seller.
Okay.
Yeah. I
And
would
even if you did do it, what if they
It's not
don't, if
gonna
they
do
want to
anything.
leave, they're not going to leave. It's not going to matter whether you ask them or not.
Yeah. All right, so a few more minutes, I'm just gonna go through. So items to include, this is also important. Don't just check all the boxes. I get that a lot. I don't know why anyone checks all the freaking boxes and then on the counter, I have to type everything out. It is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Check what's on there, right? If you don't remember, look at the photos. But don't check everything on here. It's just retarded. Natural hazard disclosure report, optional wildfire disclosure report. If you want the seller to do that, I think it's like $150 or something additional. These are all kind of newer things of the RPA. Any type of reports that you're wanting the seller to furnish or the buyer. So like if you want the seller to do termite, and then it'd actually be wood destroying pet. Okay. So it would be it's WDPO, organism report. So that would go there. I can't even spell it today. Don't write termite because that's limited just to termites. But if you want the seller to do that, smoke alarm, CO2 detectors, water heater bracing, that's usually the seller, government, point of sale, and all that. He's normally seller, but the buyer could assume that. Escrow fees, traditionally each to pay their own fees. Seller traditionally pays for the owner title policy. Anything else I want to cover in here? I think that's it. And then all these different disclosures that you can add, which I'm not going to go through. But any questions on that? I just want to make sure that really the main thing I wanted to cover on this was the contingency piece of it.
I have a question, regarding to Cecilia's question previously, when when you close the escrow and there is someone remain on the property, what do you do?
Call
If
an
you are
attorney.
an agent?
I'm sorry, say that one more time, just
Call an
Jeff. was
attorney.
talking. Yeah, there's nothing you can do as there's nothing you can do. You call an attorney. We had that happen with an active listing of ours and it went on hold and we had to do an eviction. So and it was an escrow and we had to cancel escrow. So when it closes and it does that, then you get an attorney involved.
The seller or the buyer.
Right,
If it's not closed, the seller.
right. But good question. Any other questions? Lots of good questions. Any more?
No questions, but I figure I'll mention my mishap that I had the other day.
Yeah, I asked Justin to share that because a lot of people could learn a valuable lesson from Justin.
Yes, I did pretty good for many years with no mishaps, but so what happened was on the RPA, I put wood destroying pests. On the RPA, we agreed to it.
They're gonna pay for it.
That they were gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
It was $4,000. And what happened was, late one night, I decided to put together, because my clients were dragging their feet, so basically I waited for them at 1 o'clock in the morning because it was due, to put it together myself. And for the request for repairs, and I put all the requests for repairs. We had already had numerous conversations with the listing agent. He knew we needed the $4,000 for the termite, and we agreed to verbally, before I put to the request for repairs, I needed another $4,000 to do all the repairs ourselves. Well, I went ahead and I was a little tired and I put checked marked again, wood destroying pests on the request for repairs, and they agreed to it. And they gave me the $4,000, but that means I got, instead of 4,000 and 4,000, I only got 4,000 because I had put it again on the request for repairs. So I kind of basically had to pay $4,000 termite out of my pocket. So I make sure I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, don't double.
Yes.
Go over that again.
So basically, if you put that you want a termite done on the original contract and they agree to it, yes, we accept your contract. Then you get to the request for repairs and you need another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 of repairs. But you also put that you check the checkbox for termite, section 1 clearance on the request for repairs again. So now it's on the original contract and on the request for repairs. They agreed to do to just give us a $4,000 credit
In lieu of.
The $4,000 termite work and the $4,000 in repairs. So because I put the termite again and they agreed to a certain number that we had already predetermined for the repairs, we accepted the $4,000, but they did not, now they didn't have to do that. $4,000 of repairs now included the $4,000 of termite that they had already agreed to.
So the mistake was, don't put something on there on the request for repairs that they've already agreed to, because now you gave them the opportunity to agree to it again or not agree to it and agree to less or more.
Yes.
Money.
So that cost me $4,000 to learn that lesson, and I probably would have never even put it on there if I wasn't, 1 o'clock in the morning, tired, waiting for the clients to figure out what they want to do. But
Be careful, pay attention to your contracts, because
Yep.
you'll be. I've done something similar where I said the refrigerator came with the property and it didn't, and I bought a refrigerator. I mean, that cost me probably a little less than 4,000, but close to it. So
yeah,
fail forward.
Absolutely.
yeah. But to me, in my opinion too, I think when I was doing it, repairs and termite is completely separate from my point of view. Like pest control is one thing and physical repairs are another, but when I called CAR Legal to get clarification, they said, nope,
Correct,
wood destroying pests is a repair, so.
absolutely,
And knowledge is power, know your contracts. That's
yes.
part of the reason we did this. So for those of you that are not, in California, I encourage you to go to your local state contracts class and really get to know the contract, read it, know it, because it'll make you that much better, and it'll save you from, you know, having challenges like Justin and mine. All right, it's 4:30. 14:30 military time. It's 2 p.m.
2:30, it's 2:30.
Sorry.
It's
It's been a
2:30.
long day.
No, it was it's been a busy day. All right, thank you guys. We'll see you, some of you on the huddle tomorrow. What were you
Good
gonna
luck
say?
with your closing, Emily.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
congrats.
Yeah, congrats. See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Jason.